This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for October 23rd, 11:30 a.m. Here's the HurTrack program. Let's go ahead and put in motion Tropical Storm Richard, soon to become a hurricane, I believe. And we'll go ahead and put this in motion and see that this will be approaching the Bay Islands of Honduras, Utila and Rotan, and those islands north of Honduras, just offshore of the coast. It looks like they're going to take a direct hit from this. There is a hurricane warning out for this area right now. And about 16 hours from now, the tropical storm force sustained winds will reach that island, and hurricane force winds will be right there with it as it moves through those islands. So I hope the people there are preparing for hurricane conditions, as well as Belize. If we continue in motion, you'll see that Belize gets affected tomorrow night. That's Sunday evening as a hurricane, and this could potentially ramp up to a major hurricane if it stays far enough offshore and has upper level support. We could see quite a significant hurricane moving into Belize. There's a whole rich hurricane history of major hurricanes coming into Belize this time of the year, so hope they're ready in Belize City for hurricane conditions. And then we continue on and see this dissipates, becomes a remnant low over Mexico, moves back into the Bay of Campeche, but at that point the shear should be high and this will be a weak system. So it looks like this will not be a threat to the United States. Now let's take a look at the recon fixes going out to 30 hours ago. And you can see over here it was drifting off to the south. Very weak system, 1010 millibars. And then yesterday evening it started strengthening a little bit, got down to 1007 millibars. Now here we are this morning right off the coast of Honduras, 1004 millibars. And then it went down to around 1000 millibars, and that's when the Hurricane Center said, uh-oh, we have a strengthening system here, it could become a hurricane. And there's the latest fix, 53 knots surface winds, 1002 millibars, maximum flight level winds, 72 knots. That's hurricane force winds at flight level. So we could have ourselves a hurricane sometime later this afternoon as this travels pretty much. And again, if you follow these dots, you can see it's pretty much just north of due west, and that's the track the National Hurricane Center is indicating in most models. And again, this is going to be heading toward Belize. They're going to probably get the worst of this, so I hope they're prepared there. Here are the models on Richard, tightly clustered into Central America. Belize is going to be ground zero here for impacts, and maybe even southern Belize. And a few of the models taken into the Yucatan Peninsula, but again, this is going to be a wind shear environment, not very favorable, so it looks like this is not going to be any kind of a threat to the United States. Now, what did the models say a couple of days ago? Well, here's the Richard model, hurricane model history, which can be found, the link can be found right below the tracking map at Hurricane City. And what we do is take a snapshot of the models every single day and let you compare them in the past and see what models perform the best. The Euro and the GFDL had this hitting the northeast Yucatan Peninsula. Looks like that's not going to happen. And at that time, the GFS and the BAM models pretty much predicted it would be hugging the north coast of Honduras. So pretty good job by those models. The GFS and the Canadian as well did a pretty good job in indicating basically all the global models except for the Euro indicated this was going to head into Belize. So the models handled this pretty well. Now here is, believe it or not, this is the best performing model so far on this system, and this is the HWRF model. And this model is indicating that we could see this system go north in the Gulf of Mexico following the weakness in the trough and moving north. The HWRF is off by about 86.6 miles at 120 hours, and that's better than all the other models out there so far on Richard. But this, again, what's going to be left of this is remain to be seen when it gets in the Gulf of Mexico. And by the way, the AEMI that I've been referencing the last couple of days that took it into the Gulf, that is now leaning towards heading it into Mexico, so that even that model has shifted back to the west. So it looks like this is the impact areas right here from Tropical Storm Richard, which will become Hurricane Richard. Now here's the only system that was in the same exact position around the same time of the year, between the 22nd and the 24th of October, and it was Hurricane Mitch back in 1998. This became a Category 5 in the same position that Rich is in right now. It became a Category 5 hurricane, but the difference is this got pushed dove south into Honduras and killed over 10,000 people in Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico before turning back to the northeast and heading over Florida as a tropical storm. This is still a possibility of meandering around down here and eventually heading off to the northeast, but again, most models kind of wash it out in here somewhere, so we'll keep an eye on that, but that is a possibility. It has happened in the past. All right, here are the upper level wind flow from University of Wisconsin, and you can see that there's a little bit of a high pressure ridge. You can see it right here, based on the flow, the arrows in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that's our high pressure ridge that is going to steer Richard into Belize. And this is supposed to move over in this position right here and strengthen and get up to 1025 millibars. So this would be a very strong high pressure ridge, and that's why the models continue to drive it right into Central America, and they're pretty in tight agreement on that. Here are the pressures, and this is important to note when you want to figure out which way a storm is going to go. And generally this is from sailweather.info. We have 1018, 1019, 1020 millibars all over the northern Gulf of Mexico here. So this is your blocking mechanism, and this is why this is not going to take a track like this. The pressures are too high. Now, a couple of days ago, the models did not predict this high pressure was going to be here. They thought the trough was going to sweep on in and this would curve on towards Florida. But they have changed since and indicate that we're going to have a very strong ridge of high pressure, and you can see the pressure is already pretty high all over the southeast. All around 1018, 1019 millibars. In fact, our pressure here in South Florida, 30.08 inches. That's high pressure over South Florida. This is heading into Central America. Here are the sea surface temperatures, very warm in advance of where Richard is going to head toward Belize. So very warm sea surface temperatures, and we could very well see this ramp up into a pretty significant hurricane by the time it gets into Belize. Now, in the Bay of Campeche, much cooler sea surface temperatures, all the way down in the upper 70s and low 80s, not nearly as warm as it is in the western Caribbean Sea right now. And hurricanes love warm sea surface temperatures. Here's the shear analysis going out 72 hours. Again, the upper left-hand frame here, you can see that we have favorable in the Gulf of Mexico, even in the southern Bay of Campeche, and in the western Caribbean Sea. But you go out into the future, it basically doesn't change very much. Although it's a little more hostile in the Gulf of Mexico for development. So if this did get up into the Gulf, it would probably get shredded after 72 hours, and it would stay stronger. Of course, it won't strengthen over land, so it's basically going to strengthen up until Belize, and then that's going to be basically it. All right, here's the floater loop visible shot of Tropical Storm Richard, which should soon become a hurricane. And again, the center of circulation's been west of the ball of convection the entire time, but you look at the last frame, it's now tucking underneath here, and a little bit of dry air still off in this quadrant right here. But once this gets out of the way and retrogrades, this is going to have a much more circular pattern here, even though it'll be interacting with land a little bit. If it stays, at least about 100 miles offshore, this could become quite a significant hurricane as it heads towards Belize, so we're going to have to watch for that. And here is the water vapor loop, and showing that dry air is now moving back away from Richard, retrograding this way, and Richard again is becoming better organized as each hour passes, and again this will head toward Belize in a more favorable environment. Finally, one more thing I want to talk about is the intensity forecast, and here's the latest on the intensity. The AVNI has been the best on intensity so far, off by about 4.5 knots at 120 hours. And the AVNI pretty much keeps this as a very weak system down here as a tropical storm heading into Belize. But I think we can pretty much write this off here. Let's just write these off for now because we have a strengthening system. There are a couple models that did indicate that this could get up around Category 1, the ship model, and the Schiffer 5, as well. All the ship's variation models all indicate this could get up to Category 1 strength, and those might end up being right in the end. All right, that's it for now. We'll keep the latest up on which should soon be Hurricane Richard, and then our current feature is Honduras. Check out the Honduras links by clicking over Honduras on the tracking map. Now, we will be switching this to Belize probably tonight or tomorrow as this approaches Belize tomorrow night. This would be a significant system for them, and all eyes will be on the country of Belize. That's it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.